Patrick, why do you keep going live before you even turn on your OBS virtual camera? Could you not take the extra? Apparently, no, I cannot. Hi, everyone. Hello. It is a very, very early morning in the States, but it is less early in the morning over here. Yeah. Less dishes in the dish caddy thing, if there's any back there. Oh, wrong way. Anyway, you still can't see me. Hi, hello, and welcome to whatever this is going to be today. So, I have the 8-bit fantasy tarot deck and the Places Oracle, and we're going to attempt something today. What came out yesterday was interesting because I've been thinking about from that place, the top place where like you basically surge and then whatever is available sort of produces whatever, you know. It's like I feel like sometimes from that viewpoint, vantage point, and perspective, if you're in tune with yourself and your energy, I guess, and you know what it is that you are doing, manifesting, praying for, hoping for, whatever, and then you see the ways in which it like manifests or begins to manifest, you start to see different sides to different things. You start to find capability and capacity that you may not have necessarily thought existed. And it's almost very like I was thinking about it yesterday. Again, I was thinking about it actually before the Page of Swords came out with the Death card and like using the scythe in a new way or whatever. And it's almost like there are like let's say planets or transits and aspects, energies that are pretty well defined because astrology is old AF and we sometimes they're just defined, okay? Because of especially like collectively defined. It's almost like a worker at a place where oh, kind of almost like they're micromanaged, but not necessarily. It doesn't have to be that they're micromanaged. They're not given any room for like creative input. And so you only get out of those workers what you request rather than like if it's an environment where everyone is encouraged to participate or everyone is encouraged to share ideas or feedback or one that encourages people and gives them the space and the ability, capacity, platform to bring themselves to the work, then it's like you get all of these crazy innovative ideas. You get people doing things that maybe they never thought they'd get the opportunity to do, or maybe there's this idea that they've had for forever, but have never had the resources or connections to bring it to fruition. But now in this environment, they feel comfortable enough sharing it and it becomes like this hot new product or whatever. You get more out of the people who you're working with, the people who you're working for, or the people who are working for you. If you were the one that was like in charge of the environment, because we are all in charge of our own environment. And our perceptions of reality and truth in the past and everything determines more or less how fixed those things are in our current perception. So, anyway, again, it was just like we get to see a completely different side rain, nature's cleanse, quenching thirsty ground. We get to see this completely different side or this completely different perspective. It's like no one knew that the accountant in the third cubicle from the right next to the water cooler was like this amazing designer, right? And I don't know, maybe there's some expansion that's happening within a company, or maybe there's just like suggestions and they sort of like sketch up a thing to either expand something or to reorganize a space or whatever. And it's like amazing. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, why don't you do this professionally? And for them, that could be their moment opportunity to recognize this whole thing that's within them and to pursue it or to see that it's like valued or valuable. Um, and it's kind of sort of a part of what we do for each other. But anyway, it's like, yeah, I feel like I've communicated the point. So, interestingly enough, 5 cards came out. We've seen, I think, most of these. There's 83 cards in this deck. I mean, it's not extremely uncommon for me to have a deck because I don't necessarily go through all of the cards and to see like the same 5 to 10 cards for a period of time, and then to see a different set of cards, and then for a card that used to come out and like, oh, we used to see this like all the time. And like, I was with everything going on, blah blah blah, whatever. What's interesting is we saw Rain and now we see River. River actually came out in the Watermelon archetypes. And I pulled the Hunter because the Hunter is in the river. And then I feel like I clarified it with Watermelon Alchemy. And the Alchemy was Neptune. And Neptune rules horses and fresh water, but Poseidon rules like salt water. And that was one of the differences between Poseidon and Neptune is their domain of rulership, or their primary domain of rulership, which is interesting because just like how I was just talking about how we can get a different side of a person, energy, whatever, when we allow for it to sort of be expressed. It made me think of in the Champions of Olympus or Heroes of Olympus, the series of books after Percy Jackson and the Olympians. You start on the Roman side of things, but then as the Greek demis or whoever approach these gods, well, I think it's the opposite because in the Percy Jackson series that I didn't read, I watched like the first movie. I actually read most of the Champions of Olympus or Heroes of Olympus. I don't know why I never made it to Percy Jackson, but anyway, they start Greek, but then they shift Roman, and when they shift, it's like sometimes their demeanor and personality changes. Again, like what they rule, what they're associated with changes because they meant to the Greeks different things than they meant to the Romans. And it was a very similar energy, not necessarily shifting from Roman to Greek, but shifting from what we know their associations are to all the more that they can be. So, anyway, river, constant moving stream, go with the flow. I love how the sun is like, this is almost like that scorpionic energy, the image of like the bright spot on the water. But with Scorpio, it felt less like a river. The body of water was larger. And in the energy, it didn't feel like there was an external body of light. At least there wasn't one seeing that whatever that glow could be attributed to. It was more assumed to be internal. After that is the field. Growth's open expanse. Life breathes. I feel like I bent these slightly. And then we have the restaurant, chef's culinary delights, savor each bite. I don't think I've seen the restaurant. Maybe I just saw it when I was looking through. Maybe it's because it kind of looks like the coffee house. So we have go with the flow, growths open expands, and then savor each bite. Oh, growths open expands, life breathes. That is kind of that energy of like those energies being more than what we attribute them to or assign them to. Police station, law enforcement's home, order maintained. And finally, shopping mall, retail therapy, endless options. Bottom of the deck is the living room, heart of the home, comfort and relaxation. What are we doing today? I don't know. Are you going to be here the whole time? Or are you going to end this live as abruptly as some of the others? Just like the other days, I am expecting someone. Yeah, technically, I'm expecting someone. There's an appointment today. Now, I was told it would probably be around like 2.5 hours from now, but you never know. I never know. We never know. Whoever knows. River, constant moving stream, go with the flow. Field, growths open expands, life breathes. Restaurant, chef's culinary delights, savor each bite. Police station, law enforcement's home, order maintained, shopping mall, retail therapy, endless options. Obviously, the endless options speaks more directly and closely to, excuse me, what I was talking about. But those endless options come after this expanse, right? And there's something about in savoring the expanse, it allows for a greater truth of whatever person, place, thing, energy. It allows for a greater truth to be seen and to be known because we're seeing more sides. But in that greater truth, there's something about the expanded capacity that um, that creates an order or that allows something to fall into order. It's almost like it's something like proper, something more accurate than what it has been, more accurate than what it has come to mean, more accurate than what it has become is what it is. And then once that order is established and maintained, that's what leads to these endless options. And again, it's the reason why people encourage participation and people to voice their opinions and open whatever to get more options because you never know the gift that someone or something holds inside of it. Right? Bottom of the deck is the King of Wands. The King of Wands is, first of all, we've been seeing the King of Wands in the Fable Makers animated tarot. Actually, ha 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 ha. Oh, 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 oh. Let's see. We've been seeing this fella, the King of Wands, and how he was like gathering up all that golden energy. And then here you can see how like the flowers on his wand blooms too. This is the wand that the Eight of Orbs, the journeyman, gets after they complete their seventh. I need to moisturize. After they complete their seventh task. So that was the King of Wands that we've been seeing. Also, the King of Wands as the Sovereign of Wands, as the one who is in, the one who has integrated their ego, the one whose ego doesn't run rampant. And the deck that I no longer have because I gifted it. The Weaver Tarot, but also the King of Wands is the Sage of Souls. And the soul, I try to differentiate between the water and the fire. And water became the essence, fire became the soul. The essence is basically the soul at work. It's our working knowledge of ourselves, our parts and pieces. It's what we choose to utilize or whatever. It's kind of sort of like our understanding of our soul in a way that we like action or apply or that we can be like proactive with. And it's conscious, the parts of the soul integrated with consciousness so that we can consciously use them. And everything else, like the whole sum total of us is the soul. Am I gonna put you here? So I wonder, and the Five of Swords is under that King of Wands. We saw the Five of Swords yesterday. Three of Wands, Five of Swords. I don't know, is it fair for those who know? Is it fair to consider this like a Rider-Waite-Smith deck? I mean, besides the before and after tarot, which are before and after, um, this is the closest thing I have. It's funny. I know people say that like, because I got gifted that bracelet, and there are people, the Emperor. Um, the Nine of Cups, the Six of Wands. Is that? Oh, that's the Devil, and the Knight of Pentacles. People like, oh, you shouldn't like buy your own. I am me, and I follow what I follow, and I believe what I believe. And everything that I don't. It's not me. It's not for me, and that's fine. The people like, oh, you shouldn't like. You should be gifted your first deck and whatever. And I was just like, it's funny that I've been like gifted more crystals and bracelets and stuff than I have. Like I've bought pretty much all of. I've been gifted a few decks. I have been quite a few, but the first majority, the upper vast majority of them, I like. I buy myself. I bought my first ones. They arrived November 4th, 2018. The Wild Unknown Tarot and the Wild Unknown Animal Spirits off of Amazon. I like Amazon tarot decks, and they popped up, and I was like, ooh. And I got the decks before, like this was before I was on YouTube. Before my only experience with tarot before that was at there was an event that was put on at one of the dorms on campus, and they had a tarot reader there. And I've always been like interested in it, even though it was like very taboo. I got read and I was like, okay. And then I just like got into it. So I didn't know anything. I had the guidebooks and a mind and a connection. And I guess it worked out. It wasn't until like summer of 2019 that I really started getting into like YouTube and readers. And my introduction to readers on YouTube was actually through astrology. Because first I was looking at astrology to try to decode my birth chart. And then, of course, it is a very short leap. Most places, it's a very short leap from astrology to tarot. And then that's how that happened. So, and what a ride that was. It was just like a lot, in the beginning, of course. Anyway, 6 years ago now. Wow. So, this King of Wands. I wasn't even necessarily going to pick all these, but is there anything else? I'll give it 3 more shuffles. Clean flips and clean falls only on the table is preferable, but not a requirement. 2 and 1. The 6 of Swords. Bottom of the deck is the Knight of Swords. It's interesting that the Knight of Swords is heading in the direction that the King of Wands is facing, which is opposite the direction that the 6 of Swords is rowing in. Honestly, this is just giving me that energy again. It's so interesting how I feel like twice there have been these energies of like someone's intuition and discernment is guiding them, leading them out of a tower before the tower falls. We saw it at first with the fool taking the leap before the tower and the people who jump out of the tower after, it's like crumbling and on fire. The fool leapt before the tower was struck. And then in the Scorpio season reading, where there were no challenges, the 8 of Cups, which was the energy bridging Libra and Scorpio seasons, came out, and then the tower from Libra season fell out on top of that 8 of Cups. So with the 8 of Cups, like someone was already again venturing out, they were already leaving, and then the tower crumbled, fell behind them. And it's kind of sort of this energy, right? The 6 of Swords is already sort of moving in this direction before the Knight of Swords makes a move on whatever this King of Wands is looking at. Under this Knight of Swords is the 7 of Swords. And under the 7 of Swords is the Ace. Under the Ace of Swords is the High Priestess. Under the High Priestess is the 6 of Wands. So congrats on listening to your intuition discernment. Seven of Swords, Ace of Swords, and the High Priestess. What's interesting is, again, I feel like this just clarifies what I just said. The 7 of Swords is taking 5 swords to the Ace, creating a 6 of Swords. The 7 of Swords also, you could say, in a way, the 7 of Swords reduces, debilitates, decreases, diminishes someone's ability to cause harm. These swords belong to soldiers. Now, if this is like, of course, depending on the context, it can be like bad or whatever, 2442. 2442 is actually hilarious. Oh my gosh. But yesterday it was 4224. Anyway, like synchronicities especially lately. Honestly, within the past 24 hours, it's been like blatantly apparent. And within the past 16, especially, it's been like blatantly apparent that like I am where I'm supposed to be, and that and there's also been like validation of like I am where I'm supposed to be, of like things sort of coming back. Again, it's these things that I don't know, anyway, it's fine. Depending on the context and situation, it can be a bad thing, but it doesn't feel like it's a bad thing here. The Seven of Swords is taking the five to the ace to create the six, which is again, the Six of Swords is about, or it's reading like before the Knight of Swords hits whatever, reaches whatever, this King of Wands has passed its judgment on or whatever. Somebody's intuition discernment led them out of it. And it can be a Seven of Swords type energy, especially like from the outside, where it's like, your intuition discernment tells you to move and you start to move and you don't, maybe you do, maybe you don't know why you're moving. No one else around you knows why you're moving. It's just like, what are you doing over there in the background? And you're like, I don't know, my intuition discernment told me to do this, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to listen to my intuition, right? And so you do. And then again, like the Seven of Swords is looking at this High Priestess. Well, it's looking at the High Priestess on the table. It's actually the Six of Swords. The five that's meeting the ace is heading towards the High Priestess. The High Priestess, again, is your intuition. Your discernment is that which is connected to all, that knows all, that tries to help us, teach us, guide us, direct us when we listen, especially. Or that just knows, that imparts its knowing. The Six of Wands that's under this High Priestess, again, heading in the same direction as the Six of Swords. So, congratulations on following, listening to your intuition discernment. Now, through the context of what's already here, through the context of what's already here, that Six of Swords, Seven of Swords, Ace of Swords, and again, the Seven of Swords, it can also be that like you are privy to, you have witnessed, you are experiencing a side of something that most people don't, because history and learning hasn't permitted the knowing of this, or the environment hasn't permitted the free expression of whatever is being expressed in this order that is maintained, that is first achieved and then maintained, of these endless options that open up. It's like whoever this resonates for, in a way, would be experiencing or witnessing or opening up to those endless options, while others would still be sort of under the umbrella of things that already are. And although the Seven of Swords can be sneaky or sly or whatever, there's nothing about this that isn't unfair, because we are all constantly granted opportunities to experience different, to experience more, to grow, to evolve, to mature. And it's up to our own circumstances, histories, choices, and decisions on whether or not we open up to more. Right? Or maybe there will be some, like the Fool, like any good mutable or cardinal energy, that sort of like pave the way, that start to change the narrative, that open minds and definitions redefined. And then it comes into like popular or public awareness. Then it starts to circulate like narcissists, gaslighting, everything else that just like wildfire it spreads, right? Manifesting. And there's nothing untrue about the limited scope, range, knowledge that we would have of any of these employees. It's very much so true. So if we just tap into or tune into a truth, especially if we tune into a truth filter through what it is that we already know, believe, or are aware of, like we're gonna get whatever. Again, it's that work environment. We're not gonna get anything more out of the employees when they're not comfortable contributing or encouraged to contribute, or when there are like consequences and stuff like that, or if it's an environment that they just don't want to contribute in. Like there can be like this open policy, but if no one really wants to be there or care, like if it's just a paycheck to them, then they're not necessarily going to be invested enough to contribute, even though it's open. So the environment, not the environment, the invitation could be there, even though the environment isn't necessarily conducive to whatever. Anyway, have we had a recent transit? I'm still trying to like, I feel like there are so many things that I'm like trying to figure out. Um, let's see. Four of Swords. Everything is like so swords heavy. And I know that Pluto is moving into Aquarius. See, I feel like sometimes like that's another thing. It's fine. Everything, not everything. I feel like sometimes Eight of Wands and the Ace of Cups, which is so, it's like when I read, I feel like it's a lot of swords. But even when I was like shuffling the deck before I went live, it was like not that many swords. It was like no swords. I guess it is almost the difference. Six of Wands. It is almost the difference between what something reads like or how something comes across because of, again, what it is that we already believe. So for me, there are certain things that, from my vantage point, there are certain things that don't necessarily feel like, oh, this is Pluto and Aquarius, or that don't necessarily feel like this is because of Pluto and Aquarius. It may be like coinciding with the transits, but the transit is not the primary energy behind the root cause of whatever. I guess, in a way, from the vantage point that I've been at, Pluto and Aquarius would be the transit through which something is made possible, right? So, like, if we're pouring the water out at the top to manifest something or whatever, Pluto in Aquarius shifting into Aquarius is an open channel to receive that energy, but it's not necessarily, doesn't always necessarily feel like it is it is because Pluto is in Aquarius, right? It's something that Pluto can do in Aquarius because of whatever. All right. Let's get a place. Oh, two places. Oh, snap. The amusement park, world of colors, laughter, and thrill. She's giving that world of colors energy. This is interesting. I went to Greenwich. We went to Greenwich Sunday. I got a pocket watch at the Greenwich Market or whatever. Uh, I kind of wanted to get a second one to like gift to somebody. They had some like owl ones, and I wanted to get one with an owl on it because I know someone who loves owls, but I can't remember who it is. And then of course I saw some with butterflies, and like I have an aunt who loves butterflies. Did I get one souvenir? Anyway, it's fine. Kirsty! Hi, hello. Oof. Well, we may have another reason to remember. It's fine. I am I am heavily considering extending my stay. Um, we'll just see if the logistics, if the logistics work out. Um, there's a part of me that's like, yeah. And then there's a part of me that's like, there are things that I have to get back to. So we'll see. We'll see. Happy November 5th. Ooh, I think we got two new places. The first place is, how are you today? The art gallery, Sanctuary of Creativity, Quiet Reflection. Sanctuary of Creativity? It didn't give me this last time I saw it, but it's giving me the energy of in the wild unknown archetypes. There was that one time where like the creative suite had opened. And then we have library, wisdom's treasury, expansion and learning. Followed by the desert, scorched horizons, tension and survival. Now, the desert could be this like a blank canvas almost. Glad to hear it. I hope better and better and better and better and better. Um, this desert here, I feel like this would explain why that energy of creation that doesn't need destruction or doesn't come at the cost of destruction came out yesterday. There's something about the sun in the desert too that's really like catching my eye. Kind of sort of how off center it is, how apparently low it is in the sky. So this is right before, not immediately before. This is either tending towards sunset or coming out of sunrise. Like these feel like the hours of dawn. Now, the desert library is interesting because of that episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender when they were trying to learn about Sozin's comet. I think I watched a lot of Avatar in the beginning and more episodes in the end, and in the middle, I wasn't really watching because I don't know life. Um, but it's giving me the energy of that library that was in the desert. That was wisdom's treasury. I think they actually went back to that library in Korra. I feel like, uh, oh girl, like astral projected there or whatever. Genora. There is also an energy here too. It almost reminds me of Asbiel, Angel of Ruin, the one who waits for peace to come again, but it never does. So, an angel that was associated with wisdom became the Angel of Ruin because he waited for a peace that never came. Because people stopped seeking wisdom and started seeking winning or how to win. And it's also interesting that the desert is here because I feel like this is a thing. Some random whatever at some point becomes like so significant later. But isn't that what a certain class of synchronicity is? Like when I first came across this, it was whatever. It seemed almost meaningless. But now, through this circumstance, it has significant significance. It has increased significance. It has become of import. Um, but the thing about the desert was, and I feel like I thought about this a few days ago, about how there was something that exists in the desert. And we search the desert, we scour the desert, we know of deserts, we think it's impossible that this thing exists in the desert because it was like something tropical. But it exists near or within the oasis. And the oasis is in the desert. And I say that because I don't know if it's a mirage or not, but there's a little bit of water. There's like, you see that sliver of blue? There's a sliver of water there, especially as like the rain and the river have come out. Okay. The thing that we find in the desert, this sanctuary of creativity, wisdom's treasury is found in the desert. It's almost like it's been buried beneath the sands. Again, giving the energy of Asbiel, Angel of Ruin. It's because we're so focused on so many things, or it's because it's almost like there's so much of wisdom that is lost when it's heard by a pointed ear. An appointed ear meaning it's like there is a specific purpose, there's a specific reason why I am seeking out this wisdom. It leads to selective hearing, it leads to a whole bunch of stuff. It's not seeking wisdom for the sake of growing wise. Again, it's seeking wisdom for the sake of winning. And you could say that there's nothing to be won here. Or you could say that this is a wisdom or a facet of creativity that is so potent or powerful that it cannot fall into the hands of one who already has an agenda upon seeking it, because it will become twisted and corrupted and it will be used to do something that it is not intended for. And there's enough of that. It's like invisible, almost like the philosopher's stone in Harry Potter, I guess. All those who seek it couldn't find it. And so I guess in a way, not everyone. I don't know if it's one of those like not everyone will see the desert. It's like some people, it's the energy of like in whatever show where there's like it's Wakanda, it's the David Bad in the David Bad trilogy. It's where the congregation convenes in A Discovery of Witches. There's a place that is veiled from the outside world, so people can't perceive it. It's like that. Like some will only perceive the desert in the desert, while others will perceive this. art gallery, library, sanctuary of creativity, trove of wisdom. And it's like same place. It could be same place, same time, but they're just like completely different experiences. But this, it goes beyond just seeing, because it's almost like, but I guess there are different types of barriers within fantasy and science fiction. I was going to do fantasy, but within fantasy and science fiction, within fantasy, um, where it is more than just perception. Because there are some barriers where it's like it's a trick of the light. So if you keep walking, you'll still end up in that place. You can go through the barrier, but because people don't see a path, people don't take it. But beyond that, like you could be standing in the middle of either the art gallery or the library, smack dab, and you could be like standing right in front of someone face to face, but still be in the desert because this is a barrier that goes beyond just perception. What do all these? I don't know. I'm just going with it now. You know, I have tossed. I don't have to make this apply or bring it down to the 3D. It is what it is. And I say all that knowing full well that I might try anyway. The amusement park, whirl of colors, laughter, and thrill. Now, I guess I could still do it. I'm going to pull, let's see, let's ask Google. Hey, Google. Hey, Google. Give me a number between 5 and 10. 8. We're going to pull 8 for an 8-year, I guess. 2 of Wands and the Page of Pentacles at the cut. Almost, yeah. Well, no. I guess the Page of Pentacles is in the field. The 2 of Wands is in like the castle. So maybe this is some sort of like medallion or something like, oh, I saw someone who, that's another show I watched recently. There was a barrier around this place where these wizards, I guess you could call them, they weren't wizards, but like these mystical swordsmen. It was Alchemy of Souls is the show. I think I would butcher the name if I tried to say it. But there was this place with like a barrier, and you could only enter that place if you had like a medallion. And so this is someone who like has the medallion, someone who has the coordinates, has everything, but they're still not like in this place because it's more than just it's something that requires like more than just knowledge or whatever. It's a sanctuary. It's a treasury. It's not that easy to just like break into. We can't necessarily force our way into these things either. So 8 cards, and I'm going to do this like I do elements of the zodiac. I guess that's what I'm going to do. I feel like I'm bending. I don't feel like everything is getting so bent. What? Who is this? The Dreamland? What is the Dreamland? Is this? I mean, if it was the Page of Cups, it would say the Page of Cups. What? I didn't know there were bonus cards in this deck. The Dreamland. What's interesting about the Dreamland is because of the sand, and that's what that's what I've heard some deserts are. They were once like underwater and full of life, but I guess the water moved or the land shifted and changed. And now it's just like all the sand that used to be under a sea. The dreamland in the desert. Wow. Okay. With the devil at the cut, the dreamland and the devil. The devil feels like that, and then the tower, the Ten of Swords. The devil feels that like if we are seeking something for the purpose of winning, we'll find the devil. If not, we'll find that dreamland. And that's like, of course, like metaphoric. I don't know all of the rules. Of course, I don't know. Well, how does one find the dreamland? How does one find this library art gallery in the middle of this desert? What about the archaeologists? Let's get, I want one card for the archaeologists. Oh, really? Really? Goodness. The tower is at the bottom of the deck. The tower is interesting because this energy, the art gallery and the library, it feels like the tower that was in um, Mazzy the True Sword Paladin, who I found that tower. Well, Mazzy the True Sword Paladin had found the tower or was making her way towards the tower after she went through the Underdark or after she went through the Undercity. She emerged in this mountain range and saw the tower and then was making her way towards the tower. But the tower came out in one of the booster packs before. And much like this, it was an energy of a place where time had like ceased to exist, or it was a place outside of time that was unreachable. And there was like that barrier. There was this like bubble of timelessness around it, so that if anyone approached it, they would kind of like get stuck in that bubble of timelessness and just like freeze. The card of the archaeologist literally came out face down on top of the library. Um, because this is under the desert. Oh, and then here's the Five of Swords again. Because this is under the desert, I was like, well, can you not dig in the desert to unearth some kind of artifact that will give you some kind of wisdom or a piece of art from this gallery? Yes, you can, but it would be like a best guess at what it truly means, right? Archaeologists, a lot of it is education, but also assumption. It's not like they personally know someone who was here thousands of years ago that can like be like, yeah, we use this for that. It's like, oh, this thing was an important ceremonial relic that we found in this area. And it's like, and then it's like, girl, like that was like the equivalent of a butter knife. You know what I mean? There was nothing important or ceremonial or whatever about this average, ordinary, everyday like tool. But because of our knowledge or our thinking, we sort of, I want to say we venerated above its like station, but it's our best guess. Was that the only card that fell on the floor? I think so. The Five of Swords can be a card of brute force, but this is almost giving me like the Guardian to whatever this is. Almost like if there is an impenetrable wall, if someone's trying to like break it with a sword or whatever, the sword would break. Okay. So we're gonna pull 8 cards. I'll give it 2 more. No flippers, no fallers. I'm pulling from the top of the deck. I'm gonna cut it there. So card number 1 is the 7 of Cups. This would be the Water of Libra with the Earth of Cancer. I'm just gonna pull these 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2, 4, 7, 8. Yes. Okay. Bottom of the deck is the Chariot. The Chariot would be able to enter this space because the balance of the Chariot. And because, like, you have two Sphinxes that are here with the desert. So, if you can drive the Sphinx, you can find anything in the desert, I would imagine. Whoa! I got 9 cards. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. The Page of Cups was hiding behind the world. Wow. And I counted them too. I counted them to make sure I wouldn't have more or less, I guess, than 8. And it's not by anyway. So let's order this by number. We got 2, 3, 4, 7, 7, 8, 9 with the World and the Page of Cups, which is interesting. The Page of Cups would be the water of Aquarius. And it's the water of Aquarius was behind the world. Pluto moving into Aquarius, the water bearer. A significant impact on everything and stuff, So we have the air of Taurus with the fire of Gemini, the earth of Cancer, the air and the water of Libra, the fire of Scorpio, the fire of Sagittarius, and then the water of Aquarius that is behind the world, motivating the world, that has come through on the world, with the world. Again, something about the rain, the river, the oasis, this water behind the world of Aquarius. And we actually see a representation of Aquarius in the world. Taurus, we have air. Scorpio, we have fire. Through the process of elimination, we are missing the earth of Leo, 5 of Pentacles. Right? So next to the eagle, we have the fire of Scorpio, 8 of Wands. For Taurus, we have the air of Taurus, 2 of Swords. And then again, we have the Page of Cups as the waters of Aquarius. 3 signs, 3 elements. The only sign and element that's missing is Leo and Earth. Of course, I'm going to pull before and after the 5 of Pentacles because I can now. I have a physical deck. So that leaves, we have the Earth of Cancer. The Earth of Cancer actually came out. It was a 3-4-4-5. It was the air of Gemini. I'm pretty sure. The earth and the water. No, fire. The earth and the fire of Cancer. And then the water of Leo. And it was at the end of one of those readings that messed up. So it was lost. I think that was towards the end of that one when I was live for I don't know, however long, and then only 9 minutes of, the first 20 minutes of any video on this channel is just whatever it is. So our remaining energies, we have the fire of Gemini, the earth of Cancer, the water and air of Libra, and the fire of Sagittarius. Sagittarius and Libra both come out in their element. Fire, Sagittarius, air for Libra. But Libra also came out with water. Is it, you know, I don't know. I almost want to put the Chariot with the rest of the cards because it's about balancing these out. I'm not going to do that. It feels like the missing Earth of Leo can't. It feels like Leo can't solidify or precipitate because of something going on over here. Between the fire of Gemini, the earth of Cancer, the air and water of Libra, and the fire of Sagittarius. The fire of Sagittarius is its vision, is its sight. The earth of Cancer is an almost Taurian comfort or a need for comfort. It's the coziness of the home. It's a need to be like cozy. Or it's just like the element of comfort. The fire of Gemini almost feels. So we do have this opposition between Gemini and Sagittarius, both in the element of fire. Again, the fire of Sagittarius feels like it's vision, but the fire of Gemini feels like it's movement. It's like Gemini is so fast that if it were not in, I don't know if planets have frictional forces. I don't believe they do, because how do you have friction in a vacuum? But it's like if Gemini were Earth, or Gemini were Earth, Mercury, mostly. It moves so fast, it generates a lot of friction, which generates a lot of heat. So that's like this busybody energy of Gemini, which feels like it conflicts with the vision of Sagittarius, because it just feels like energetic. It's not necessarily related to a person or people or whatever. But the arrow of Sagittarius, the vision of Sagittarius, is more so narrow than expansive like Pisces. And it's not that Sagittarius can't be expansive, and it's not that Pisces can't be narrow. But it's like Jupiter expands in every direction, right? So it's like the Sagittarian expansion of Jupiter is almost like back and forward, while the Piscean expansion of Jupiter is like inside, outside, or other directions. This long-term vision of Sagittarius with this like busy, like this fire of Gemini almost feels like that Piscean sort of expansion, but it's a lot that doesn't necessarily support this vision. It feels like from the Sagittarian perspective, the activity of Gemini doesn't necessarily support the vision, but from the Gemini perspective, Sagittarius's vision has no scaffolding. And so Gemini moves to create the foundation and the scaffolding to support the thing that Sagittarius envisions in the long term. Right? It's like if Sagittarius is walking off of a cliff, but they're focused like there are two cliffs. They're looking at the land on the other side of the cliff. That's where their eye is, but they're about to walk off of their cliff. Gemini is like bridging the gap so that Sagittarius doesn't fall because it's not looking down. It doesn't know that it's about to fall. And so these energies are actually working together, even though they feel like they're working against one another. And how they feel is important, sometimes more important than the truth. And then we have the water and the air of Libra. The water and air of Libra, it feels very almost chaotic or confusing. It feels like the air of Libra is almost like making a choice or decision or something. The water of Libra is trying to fulfill that, but then the air of Libra is like on to something else. And then it's almost like the water of Libra is trying to play catch up with the air of Libra, but the air of Libra is like constantly changing. So, see you later, Kirsty. I hope you see lots of fireworks today. I guess. I think. You too. So it feels like it's almost like Libra keeps changing its mind. And there's this water that's trying to come in, but it's almost like it's nothing is ever full because something keeps changing. I don't necessarily know. Again, almost like this Gemini Sagittarius energy. I don't necessarily know if it's for Libra to like slow down either. It doesn't feel like it feels like maybe the air of Libra is supposed to lead the water of Libra. That's what it kind of feels like. Like the air of Libra is supposed to lead the water. It's almost like if you've ever seen a video of someone that has like a mixed drink of multiple colored liquids, and then there's like seven or eight or however many glasses laid out, and they like pour out the purple and then the blue and then all the other colors. It's like the air of Libra sets the glass down. It's like as the water of Libra is filling up the last cup, the air of Libra sets down the next cup for the water to pour, and then the next, and then the next. So it's not to have like all seven, eight, nine, 10 glasses laid out and then go in with the water. It's to lead, but to not abandon, I guess. I don't know. Because it also doesn't feel like the cup needs to be completely full before the next thing is whatever. That energy feels like so this the air and water of Libra feels like it is more related to the bridge between those two cliffs. So Sagittarius, the fire of Sagittarius is this vision further out that conflicts with this busybody energy of Gemini that is trying to do a whole bunch of stuff kind of sort of all at once. Things that feel unrelated to the Sagittarian vision. And then this water and air of Libra is taking not orders, but it's like it's in communication with Gemini. Right. So it's almost like Gemini is the scout. Gemini is scouting all of these pitfalls or all of these voids where there isn't enough substance to create a solid enough path. Again, there's no Earth of Leo here. There's not enough substance for a solid enough path to make whatever transition. Gemini is scouting, Libra is fulfilling, like actually creating that bridge. But again, it's to like the air of Libra leads the water, but it's like because the air and the water of Libra are connected, if the air moves too fast, then the water tries to catch up. And again, that's what leaves like all of these empty glasses, or that's what creates a very uneven sort of like road, right? It's like, let's say there's a road full of potholes of varying depths. And if you just glaze over it with um, hot tar, asphalt, I don't know what people use to make roads. If you just glaze over it with fresh hot road, there are going to be some potholes that are filled, but a whole lot more where it's just like a whole lot more partially filled potholes. Now, if you drive over it, you could say, like, oh, well, at least that pothole isn't as deep as it used to be, right? Instead of taking the whole tire, it only took 90% of the tire. But also, there is that mindset of like, of whatever validity. It may be valid, it may not be. There's that mindset that's like what was the point of them fixing this road if it's still full of potholes? It doesn't make the road any more serviceable or any easier to travel when the job is rushed. And then this Four of Pentacles, the Earth of Cancer, is what we wish to feel. You could almost say the Earth of Cancer is the whole reason why this thing is happening in the first place, right? I'm tired of driving down this road and just like my car getting beat up, my chariot. I'm tired of my chariot getting beat up by all these potholes as I'm trying to like drive it down the road. That's what I would like to be fixed. And then like there's this whole Sagittarius, Gemini, Libra process. Now, Libra, 12 divided by 2 is 6. So Libra sits on one half of the midpoint between Gemini and Sagittarius. Virgo, I guess Virgo would be the half, 369. I don't know why I was treating this like it was an odd number. Because even in my brain, it was like also 777. I didn't even catch that. 777 of the Chariot, the Seven of Swords, and the Seven of Cups. But the Chariot is more associated with Cancer, which is again the whole reason why we're sort of doing this in the first place. So I wonder if it's almost like, so while this is happening, it feels mostly like out of the frustration of trying to get all of these different things to work together. It's like, well, I heard that it's almost this like, why reinvent the wheel? Like, I've heard, I don't know, when Gemini was flitting about doing whatever it was doing, it came upon some gossip. Almost like, so in the scenario of this like road work, this bridge work, right? As Gemini is kind of sort of managing, I guess, the construction of the thing. It's like there's a worker who there's like a rumor about like this knowledge or information. Just like let's say that someone wants to build a building by the sea, and they take inspiration from the architecture and construction of antiquity, right? Like, oh, like all of these seaside buildings or whatever that have stood the test of time. Well, how did they make it however long ago with less material and uh, tools than we have today? It tries to like, it seeks inspiration or to recreate something that already exists. The something that already exists is in this library art gallery. So we seek this sanctuary of creativity, this treasury of wisdom to speed up, smooth, make this process a whole lot easier because trying to manage all of this ain't working. But then again, like it's the desert. So going back to the energy of the artifact, there's this artifact that we dig up or whatever, and we go, oh, this must be the reason why their construction was so immaculate or whatever. And so we integrate it into our construction and to our dismay. It doesn't do what we thought it did. I read an article probably on Tumblr. An article, I came upon a post on Tumblr that maybe linked to an article years ago that talked about like they had a recipe. I think it was for Roman like cement or concrete or whatever. Again, because it could stand up against like seawater. It was more immune to the erosion of the elements. And they followed the recipe and they couldn't reproduce something that was more erosion proof that could stand the erosion of the wind and rain and salt water, the wind and the salt water, that salty air and water of the seaside or whatever. And then someone had a bright idea of if the recipe called for water, the water that they had available to them was salt water. It was seawater or lake water or whatever, wherever. It was salt water, okay? It wasn't the fresh water. It was Poseidon waters, not Neptunian waters. Um, that made it able to whatever to resist or to resist the erosion. And it would make sense, like if you incorporate the thing to have some kind of immunity to it, right? And once they did that, then like it worked. So this is trying to use the recipe, but without the salt water, basically. The architect is the King of Swords, masculine air, which is interesting. It's also interesting that the King of Swords came out on top of the library, which is wisdom's treasury. Expansion and learning. The King of Swords is all about learning, it's all about expansion. I almost wonder, though, if the King of Swords may be more knowledgeable than he is wise. And in a lot of scenarios, cases, and situations, there's not too much of a difference, right? Like if it's pretty plain, then to be knowledgeable is to be wise. But coming off of the energy again yesterday of death in that page of swords, the doctor's office or the hospital that was the health consultation, knowledge is not wisdom. Our wisdom is demoted to knowledge. Knowledge falls out of alignment with wisdom when it is applied to a situation, a thing like incorrectly, right? You could say that like knowledge is knowing that a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is not putting it in a fruit salad. Almost along those lines. This King of Swords is very knowledgeable in some way. Like the people who were able to find that the recipe, they were knowledgeable, but wisdom would have told them like The water that they had access to was salt water. So if we want to recreate it, we need to use salt water. We need to use what they used. Water today means something completely different than it did in antiquity. Today, we differentiate between the fresh water and the salt water. But back then, the only water was the water that was nearby. So if they were near salt water, water meant salt water. If they were near fresh water, it meant fresh water. But here to us nowadays, more often than not, it means fresh water, right? Add a cup of water to whatever you're baking. You're not going to go out to the ocean and scoop up a. Anyway, the Five of Swords on top of this King of Swords, now that the architect or the archaeologist has been revealed, it does come in with a little bit of a brute force type energy. It feels like it's trying to brute force a lock, but without knowing the architecture of the data security system, you could like lock yourself out of something to the point where you can no longer attempt. And if you don't get any feedback, like when we go to a website and we try to log in, it turns red. Or it like on the iPhone, like it doesn't allow you to log in. You have exceeded your login attempts. But if there is no feedback, you could keep trying and not even know that like you've been locked out or whatever. Ooh, look at all these majors. Okay. So under the Chariot was that Knight of Swords. But then it's the Hangman, Judgment, the Star, the Six of Pentacles. That sounds like, ooh, major, major, major. So what is before and after the Earth of Leo? That is the missing key to this world card energy. I know I've heard Russ say that Regulus has actually moved into Virgo. So it's interesting that the Earth of Leo is the one that is missing here. The Five of Pentacles was the card at the top of the deck, or at the bottom. No, at the top, because I had the bottom flipped up. It was the Chariot. The Five of Pentacles was the card at the top of the deck. I was just talking about how Regulus moved into Virgo. LOL. It's next to the Hermit. The Hermit with the star in its cage. Virgo has captured Regulus from Leo. Virgo's like, yeah, no, absolutely not. I don't think so. Virgo is not on the table. There are no sixes here. But Virgo, the Hermit corresponds to Virgo. The Hermit is number 9, and we do have a 9, which was the fire of Sagittarius, which is this vision. But because Virgo has captured, it feels like Virgo has the Hermit has literally captured or imprisoned the star. There was a star that used to shine in the sky that provided some kind of navigational guidance, or the presence of that star. It's almost like the presence of that star in the sky. The presence of that star in the sky creates a different constellation. Like, name a constellation. And then when you like draw it out, it's like, oh, this kind of looks like whatever. So that's why this constellation is named whatever. But with the presence of another star, the whole constellation shifts. Again, going back to that the energy of before, where something can mean more than what it has come to mean. And it's interesting, speaking of antiquity, and this thing that is now a desert that used to very much so be alive. With that star, maybe it's this star. Like I was like, there's this sun here that's like catching my attention off to the left. Like in the days of antiquity, well, you see the sun now in the desert, so maybe not. But anyway, it's like in the days of antiquity or in another time and in another energy, in another environment, there's something that completely changes how something is seen. It changes its association, which gives it a meaning that we don't have right now. And that's why I know like it's the Earth of Leo, but that's why it's this Five of Pentacles energy. Because that star has been captured, because that star has been removed from the heavens, the constellations have shifted. It's not, to me, feeling like Ophiuchus, the missing 13th, whatever. It could be. Take it as it resonates. But yeah, it's like the Hermit. Virgo has captured this star. And I think Virgo was like one of the bigger constellations, if not the biggest constellation. I think I've like heard that over the past few years by probably Russ, but maybe somebody else. I don't remember. Um, so there's this star in the sky. If I'm looking at the cards as cards, there's this star in the sky that is missing. It's been removed from its home or it's outside of where it used to be, captured by Virgo. Virgo is the villain. Oh my gosh, I'm just kidding. There are no villains. It can't be seen in the nighttime sky, but it can be felt. And once that star is returned, or once the energy of that star is put in its proper place, as everything shifts back into its balance, police station, order maintained, creating and maintaining that order, that's what opens up this endless possibilities. Eight of Wands, everything just like a whole bunch of stuff transpires like almost all at once. And then it's like all of a sudden, where we were in the desert, just in the middle of nowhere, there's this huge tower, library, art gallery. And it's interesting because, again, the Page of Wands was at the bottom of the deck, the Page of Coins, sorry, Page of Pentacles. And it held that medallion. And it was like, well, I'm holding this medallion, but like nothing is happening. Because it's more than just a physical thing. So in the world of Tomb Raider, Indiana Jones, whatever, it's like the medallion has to be energized. It has to be charged. It's like the battery. Without this star powering it, the battery has died. And so now it's no different than like a rock. But we've seen the star here. The star is in between Judgment and the Six of Pentacles. So according to this, to those deemed worthy, or those where it is appropriate, access will be, has been granted, is granted. Take it as it resonates. Cool. All right, let's get final cards. I think with that King of Swords, Five of Swords, there is, again, the King of Swords is very, very, very knowledgeable, but not necessarily always wise. Sometimes more knowledgeable than wise. And that Five of Swords, again, it feels like it tries to brute force its way into something. So maybe we ourselves are knowledgeable of spiritual or energetic laws, and we try to use that knowledge to brute force our way into some aspect of creativity or to gain access to some kind of knowledge, and there is no brute forcing our way into whatever. But like the archaeologist, which is the King of Swords, so very, appropriate, we can uncover all types of relics and things and make a best guess, a very educated guess at its meaning or whatever. But it's not necessarily always accurate to what it actually was. Again, in the times of antiquity, there was another star in the sky. This whole constellation as we see it now was completely different back then. When this star was present, when this energy was there, participating in the circuitry of the sky. And without that node, the circuit has been like reworked and rewired. All right, places. So I'm going to get an oracle of place first. We have the fire station and the doctor's office, health consultations, trusted advice. With the doctor's office, the fire station is city's first responders, readiness to respond. Take that as it resonates. You see the fire truck, it feels like it's ready to go. One of my friends recently, well, he was a volunteer firefighter before, but he is a professional now. Bottom of the deck is river, constant moving stream, go with the flow. And then we have amusement park, whirl of colors, laughter, and thrill. This river is almost given lazy river energy, which people do enjoy. We were walking to the station, and there were like people in like a jacuzzi thing, like on the water. I was like, okay, like, anyway. Maybe with all of the seriousness that I have approached this with today, I missed out on all of the laughter, thrill, and fun of what lies on the other side of that energy. In the art gallery, in the library. There are some people who go to the desert for fun. Most of them may be on vacation. You go to the desert for a little bit and then you go home. Or maybe some of them love it. I'm sure somebody loves it because I'm sure there's been at least a handful of people who have moved to a desert area from a non-desert area. Be it for love or work or whatever. It's happened. I mean, there are deserts in America. Arizona. People go to Arizona all the time. Las Vegas. There's more than just the desert in the desert, which I guess has been a message. The Five of Cups. At the bottom, I'm pretty sure I have all the cards. All right. Oh, that was almost a clean flip, but it was dirty. Bottom of the deck, the Four of Wands. It's so interesting that the Five of Cups came out and the Four of Wands came out. At the end of the video, there was a story of Gemini that was going to Leo, basically wanting to have a good time. But Leo was kind of sort of going through something and was no fun. Gemini was like, I'm going to go and have a good time. You can sit here and sulk and do whatever you're doing. Leo was in its water, Cancer was in its fire. Cancer and Leo sort of bridged and connected in that way. The Five of Cups was just at the bottom of the deck, and now the Four of Wands is the fire of Cancer with that water of Leo. Um, I don't know why, but something about her or this individual is giving me like justice energy. Who is Justice getting married to? Anyway, the Eight of Cups has come out yet again, the waters of Scorpio. This person is following the river, following the water. Go with the flow. That was the river. Go with the flow. There's this go with the flow that is going with the flow. This go with the flow is almost like going with what's flowing, right? Like when we hear go with the flow, like we're flowing in energetic, vibrational, like a vibe type of whatever. It's more, it's like it's a flow that's internal that we're going with, but this is like an external flow. Something externally is like moving, and this Eight of Cups is following it, going with what's flowing. And it's not flowing necessarily in any direction that there's any kind of attachment to. To go with this flow, something must be left behind. It is still the Eight of Cups. The Magician is the second card that came out. So I was looking at the numbers. Twice four is eight, right? So if we twice eight again, it would be 16, which is the Tower. We've seen again the Eight of Cups that did its journey before the Tower fell, just like the Fool that leapt before the Tower fell. But I'm looking at the numbers. The infinity sign digitized in the 8-bit fantasy tarot looks like an 8. I mean, an infinity sign looks like an 8 regardless. But it's like this numeric 8 from Roman numerals. So that it's a little bit of like, again, building upon or taking the lesson of that which antiquity has left us. This Roman numeral 8, the magician knows is this like numeric 8. And there's something about that wisdom, because it was wisdom to use the salt water because that's what the Romans would have had the most access to. It wasn't fresh water. It's this wisdom of knowing that it's the 8 of the current correspondence to this Roman numeral. It's that wisdom again that opens up that sanctuary of creativity. And it's the magician. The magician creates. Also, I know that there is some tarot symbolism of like yellow skies. Um, but like the what, pergola, whatever, that how it's like matching. Also, interestingly enough, behind the Four of Wands is the Five of Cups. Some play between the fire of Cancer and the water of Leo. Maybe it's the fire of Cancer rather than the earth of Cancer. Maybe it's the fire of Cancer that precipitates out the earth of Leo. Like Leo is mineral rich water. So if you boil out all the water, what you're left with is the minerals, which is there. This is the precipitation of the earth of Leo. So, which makes sense because the moon is a mirror. So Virgo stole a star from the sky, right? That's what made the earth of Leo absent for whatever world, whatever, right? The last hour and a half. It's almost like if the moon can reflect the light of the sun into the spot relative to the rest of the constellation that is removed, then that will like unlock something. That's the earth of Leo. That would be the return of the earth of Leo. The fire of Cancer precipitates something from the water of Leo. Usually, it would be the fire of Leo, because Leo is a fire sign, that would precipitate something in Cancer, because Cancer is the water sign. But it's the opposite this time. And even when I read the zodiac signs last time in Powers of 2 and 3, there were some signs that had like sister signs to rely on or different planets that their ruling planet ruled to rely on, but the sun and the moon, Leo and Cancer, they're the only ones that have no co-rulership or that have no direct planetary or direct zodiac siblings through co-rulership or shared planetary rulership. Cool. All right. That's what I got. Take it as it resonates if it resonates. And if it don't resonate, don't take it. I am going to look because I'm curious. What is before and after Dreamland? Not Kirby's nightmare. Dreamland is the place where Kirby comes from. The star in Dreamland is Kirby's warp star. That's what Kirby uses to like, zip around. He gets on the star, on the warp star. On the Kirby cartoon, there was that one girl and she'd be like, "Kaboo, warp star," and the warp star would come out of the mouth of this tree. This tree would like open its mouth and then the warp star would come out. Right. Speaking of the warp star, there's the star. The star is in between the Seven of Swords and the Seven of Cups. When I put these cards back in the deck, I'll put them in different spots within the deck. The star is in between the Seven of Swords and the Seven of Cups. OMG, LOL. That's hilarious. Which is in between the Empress and the Ace of Swords. Under the Ace of Swords is Judgment. How am I doing this? Oh yeah, I'm just like going through it. Ooh, the King and Queen of Swords are together. Before the Queen of Swords is the Fool. After the King of Swords is the Ten of Wands. The Fool feels like an outside energy because of yellow skies, whereas the Ten of Wands exists under the same sky as the King and Queen of Swords. Which is interesting. It's interesting that the Queen of Swords has her back turned to the King of Swords, the archaeologist that's trying to brute force their way into whatever this space is, because she is pre-justice, and something in this felt like that was a representation of justice. Like the Queen of Swords is remarrying someone else. Maybe that is the mission of the King of Swords. Again, the one that seeks wisdom to win rather than to grow wise. Temperance is with the world now, which is interesting. Water and fire making up for the earth that is no longer there. That star that doesn't exist in the sky anymore. All right, Dreamland, where are you? Oh, so the Hierophant is the card of marriage, right? Behind Justice is the Hierophant. Behind the Hierophant is Dreamland. It feels like Justice is marrying someone new, something new. I don't know. Justice is there. Oops. So, if we go 2 before and 2 after to include Justice, the Hierophant, and Dreamland. So the Hierophant and Justice are the 2 cards before Dreamland, which is almost given like honeymoon type energy. After Dreamland is the Chariot and the Knight of Pentacles. Before the Chariot is this Page of Wands. Before the Page of Wands is the Hermit. So here is the Page of Coins with their de-energized medallion that is seeking, because it's behind the Chariot, that is seeking that place, only to get there and like it doesn't work because it hasn't been energized. It feels like after the Chariot, because it's the Chariot, the Knight of Coins, and then this Dreamland, this Pentacle has been energized. And now it's going to unlock this Dreamland where Justice is married to someone new. Order created and maintained. Interesting. There was no order here with the Page of Coins. I feel like that's not the first time we've seen the Knight of Coins in a position kind of like that. Interestingly enough, but I don't know. Anyway, I hope you all have an amazing whatever whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. I hope that whatever you need along your path journey and way you find. And I hope that you just keep listening to and following that intuition and discernment, because apparently it's reading like, it read like, it has kind of sort of been reading like something is going down or about to go down, and you listening to your intuition and discernment is going to see you on a different pathway or trajectory. Is that the splitting of the 3D and the 5D? I don't know, bro. Don't ask me. I can put these away off camera. I can put them away on camera. That's fine. That'll just be like an extra, hopefully not longer than 10 seconds for me to put these away. It's one of those boxes where, like, if you try to put them all in at once, some of the cards will catch on the flap. And so if you put it in halves, it's like easier. The Kawaii Tarot is like that for me. All right. I don't know when I'll see you next, but when I do see you, it'll be the next time I see you. The next time you see me could be a me from the past, right? The next video of mine you watch could be from years ago, which is kind of wild at this point. But, you know, that's the thing about time, is that it just keeps going. All right.